So, Bob, another one of those buzzwords very much in vogue at the moment is the word innovation, and I'm also guilty of using that term in our commercial business marketing and so on. But innovation, again, like the word engagement, means very different things to different people. So what is innovation to you? Is it just problem solving, or is it something more than that?
Well, in the 21 years that we've been in business, we've really been focused on innovation. And I was taught by a mentor in another industry 40 years ago that new technologies and new methodologies that are worth anything invariably improve the business, improve the economies of the business, improve revenues and profitability, change it for the better.
Right.
And that's how I would look at innovation in our industry. Because you can innovate up the wazoo, but if it doesn't have a positive outcome, what have you really innovated?
Yeah. So it's got to push your clients, or indeed your own, business forward in some way.
It has to make things better economically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
That's
many
a very
different ways,
interesting
many
way.
different ways that it can.
Yeah.
But eventually, your revenues have to get better, and your profitability has to get better. And something comes to mind that has occurred in research. In the late 90s, when the internet and the internet bubble was really growing, there was this idea out there, revenues and profits don't really matter with these new internet companies. It's eyeballs.
Right.
How many eyeballs can you get? And I looked at that. Obviously, it was absurd, because eventually you have to make a profit.
Yes, absolutely.
And eyeballs itself are not going to make that profit.
Yes.
You have to really extend it and make that important. So I think you're really talking, there's a great example of innovation that really wasn't innovation.
So do you think that these are one of the perils with innovation? Because I think although the research industry is really, really evolving in lots of different ways, it's a very exciting time to be in the market research industry, there is still a chunk of the industry that's, can be quite conservative, maybe are quite adverse to change. So in terms of a new company coming in from outside of research or within research that has thought of something new, do you think that maybe one of the perils of innovation is actually the industry that we're in, that sense of pushback, because obviously, you have to have research rigor with these innovations. There's so much to evidence, there's so much to prove.
Betty, I think that gets to doing your research with your research product.
Yes.
And understanding the market, and understanding what's out there, understanding the acceptance of what you are going to replace.
Right.
My key questions whenever I talk to a new research innovator is, well, what does this replace? What qualitative or quantitative or combination of the two are you taking the place of?
Yeah.
Because that's what you've got to really convince, I think, the clients to be willing to do.
Yes.
You have these norms out there, and companies are so reticent to change the way they're measuring something because they've been doing it another way for 5 or 10 or 25 years.
Yes.
I mean, a great example is SPSS. SPSS software has been out there forever.
Yeah.
I have really yet to talk to anybody who uses SPSS software who thinks it's the best out there.
Right.
But they've been using it for so long, they're just not willing to make the investment in something new and have to change their norms.
Yeah. So for a new company that is offering something innovative, would you suggest to that organisation that they should probably give themselves a couple of years at least just to make the right introductions, build up a body of evidence, do research on their method, and then obviously be able to confidently go out there?
Especially today, because the norm seems to be with a new innovation, and mobile's a great example. Let's put it out there and see what happens.
Right.
Let's throw it out there in situations and see what it can do that we had no idea it could do. I mean, there's no shortage of ideas with mobile as to things you could try and implement with it that you would have never thought of yourself, and yet a client will say to you, hey, we have this situation. We'd like to try, this mobile for that.
Right.
And I've heard that from a lot of mobile companies. So anything that's new that's out there, you better have some wherewithal to last for a year or two or maybe longer. Mm-hmm. And that's why I find it so interesting, all these venture capitalists who are willing to put money into these new research companies, because they're looking at it and they're being sold, that, yes, this has real potential and it will get buy-in, but, not going to happen the first time you knock on, P&G's door.
Yeah.
Even the most open-minded client research company or client or research agency is going to want to really think about it for weeks or months or maybe a half a year or a year before they do the go-ahead on it.
Yeah. I mean, the ripple effects are huge. I mean, before I started research for gaming, I used to work for Nebu, one of the market research software providers. And as an account manager, it was very nice to be able to convert a client of a potentially competitor to the Nebu software. But that process would take maybe about 6 months, just to have the conversations and the meetings and to show what we can do, and potentially another 6 months to even a year to actually make that change and implement, our offering, and do the appropriate training for the human resources at the agency side or the client side. So just for software alone, obviously there's such a big upheaval, such a big ripple effect. And then when you talk about methodology, like you said earlier, you might be speaking to a company that has a brand tracker going back 15 years. So changing a methodology changes absolutely everything. So your advice is to have money to eat for a couple of years at least before the doors start opening.
Hopefully have a deep-seated VC.
Right.
Isn't afraid to make a Series A, a Series B, and a Series C investment.
Right. Okay. Very good advice.